Some quick fire reaction to Michael Duignan. That interview was leadership, not the waffle that has been spun from Croke Park so often in the last few weeks, says Jerome O'Driscoll on Twitter. And Isla Cody says Michael Duignan is a revelation on the radio this morning. Balanced, fair and sensible. Yes, I typed that. Hashtag OTB AM. Mark Trossan Kelly, it was fairly powerful stuff from Michael Duignan last night. There's loads in it. There's loads and loads and loads in it, actually. One thing that, obviously, the headline was teams should be kicked out if they're caught training, as opposed to we're not going to punish them, which was very interesting, and we can talk about that in a moment. I actually thought that there was a subtle point in the middle of that where he talked about, what was the exact line? Essentially, that if you win an All-Ireland this year and you've been training away while the rest of the country wasn't, there's going to be an asterisk. Not a Liverpool-style asterisk, but a genuine asterisk, because you've pulled the wool over everybody's eyes. And what's the point? Like, what is the point in cheating to win against all of your peers? It's like, okay, great, well done. You're the best cheat. Congratulations.
Well, this is it. And to be honest, funnily enough, out of all the reports of places that I've heard allegedly might be training, be they club or be county, the reports I seem to have heard are from clubs and counties that I don't know would be in the shake-up anyway near the end. I mean, take from that what you will. But I thought it was really interesting as well how he said these managers are ruthless and they're driven to win. But I think it's about time that managers who are so ruthless and so driven to win that they do it at all costs need to take stock and realise actually your methods aren't working. They've been proven to not work. Like Michael Duignan cited the ESRI report there, 31 hours a week being spent. A lot of that's being spent in cars travelling back and forth to training, following training plans that have been laid out for you at the start of the year, and you have to do it no matter what, even if your body isn't agreeing with it. And it just makes no sense because, I mean, for the love of God, we have all the evidence now. We know happy, rested players make better performers. 31 hours a week, a lot of that sense sitting in a car or the back of a bus crisscrossing the country is not a happy, rested player. So it makes no sense. It absolutely makes no sense. And I don't know why they're persisting with it, but I just thought it was really interesting as well how Michael Duignan, the difference between the likes of me and a Michael Duignan is he has a whole pedigree and a background that I will never be able to achieve, and nobody wants to listen to me or people like me, but they might listen to Michael Duignan because he has all the pedigree he needs in spades. He has the experience, and now he's in the right position as well. So he's actually put his money where his mouth is. It's very easy for us to sit and say, oh, this is terrible, but he's actually gone in and done it. And he's trying to do his best. But unless we get other Michael Duignans around the country, no change is going to happen.
Is Michael Duignan a future president of the GAA? And I don't mean future long-term, 20 years. I think, like, is there a possibility that the campaign to make Michael Duignan president of the GAA begins now? Because we saw, generally, in something like this, campaigning properly, like Jarlath Burns did, seems to almost rule you out. At the very last minute, Jarlath Burns got so close to getting the gig. But if the story came from here today, where we were suggesting Michael Duignan as the next president of the GAA, who says no?
Turkeys voting for Christmas would say no, or not voting for Christmas, because we have to remember
he's come up
like
through
there's
them,
a lot of people that won't like listening to that stuff.
Like, who are those people? Because it's the question. It is the question that we've been asking. It's like, why don't county board, you asked it I think last week, why don't county board chairmen just listen to what people are saying to them and go, oh, okay, that's what you think, that's what everybody thinks, okay, there's a consensus around this, we should do that, consensus thing.
No, because they know better, because this is the way it's always been done. And this is one of the great, wonderful things of the GAA and the not so wonderful things. You're dealing in general, and I use in general here because it's not fair to tar everybody with the same brush, but when you're dealing with the same people from the same mindset, the same kind of generation, you get a same kind of grey blazered groupthink that has not evolved enough. I mean, I've lost count even on another, kind of in another world altogether, the amount of times I've had to tell coaches and managers, well, actually, this is the evidence that we have, and we have here, in books, but sure, they don't count to my lived experience is the answer you get back, and I know better than you, and maybe part that's because I'm a woman as well, I don't know, but multiply that when you come into county boards, you're dealing with people who don't like change. None of us like change. That's psychologically well. Like, who likes change? Nobody. How would you like, Ger, I suppose, if you put it this way, if some young upstart came into off the ball and began telling you, Ger, your methods are all wrong, this is what you need to do?
Well, we would have a conversation about it. If somebody comes in and says...
Because you're younger.
Well, actually, the other great point that he made was, he talked about homelessness, right? And it's been noticeable on my way into work for the last week that there are now people sleeping on the streets again. And for 2.5 months, it looked like somehow people put their minds together and found a way to not have people sleeping on the streets. And that's a decision we make as a country, that we want people to sleep on streets rather than to put them in houses. We choose that as a country. That's how we look after people. We can dress it up any other way we want, but that's that choice that we make. And he's like, we managed to fix that because we didn't have time to sit in our hands. There was a global pandemic. You have to do stuff. You do stuff, and it's been noticeable. A load of great things have actually happened, like the traffic, and as you said, the cycle lanes. They've just done a load of stuff over the last couple of months in Dublin, where you're like, that's really good. It's a pity we didn't do this before. Like, well, we're doing it now. We're doing it now. We're going to see what it's like. And there was an opportunity, and some sports have seized it, and other sports are going, I'm just going to sit in my hands here and have a look at what's happening. So, like, I actually think that something like Michael Duignan last night on the radio, and again this morning as people wake up to it, could be a touch paper that lights and just ignites something here, if people get behind it quickly.
This is the trouble, you see, and this is where it actually comes back to the clubs, because this is where the clubs have their own golden opportunity, which is the delegates they choose to put forward toward county, and then who the county eventually puts forward for things for Congress and things like this, because this is the problem. As you've seen, have you ever sat at Congress? Not many women in there, not many people under 50 or 60. It's improving ever so slightly. So that's where it comes back to. And then these 31 hours a week, you know, when you think about it, the young person who's actually playing football doesn't have much time to be involved in the admin as well. And sometimes, you know, and I don't want to be, you know, again, tarring everyone with the same brush, because there are some wonderful administrators out there as well. But this is the trouble. The two needs aren't the same. And I always find it very funny when Congress rolls around every year. On the Saturday afternoon, a bus pulls up outside wherever the Congress is being held, and it's the bus for the wags. And the wives are taken off on a spin somewhere on a day out. And, you know, and there's one or two women involved in Congress, not very many. I can't imagine their husbands going off on the same trip as well. And I just think that part of it is a little bit out of touch, and we need to start diversify. Like you just said, like the whole society of Ireland, it has changed. And I don't think the GAA yet, like so many other organisations, we're not reflecting that change. But the trouble is, when we're not reflecting that change within the GAA community, people's minds and bodies are getting damaged, mindsets are being damaged, and people's opportunities are being swept to the wayside. And too many people, I think, have too much power in certain. I just don't. I would said it on Sunday. I was speechless. It's rare for me to be speechless. I just cannot understand why somebody in the top echelons of Croke Park cannot pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Mr. X at Mr. County Board, stop doing that, or else." I don't know.
Stop training. In a specific example, stop training. Well, and all they had to do was say there's going to be very severe punishments. We're going to kick you out of this year's championship. Like, it would have been draconian, but it would have nipped it in the bud. It's like when you weren't allowed to drive anywhere, the guards put people on the roads. They checked, and everybody did exactly what they were told. When we make it mandatory to wear face masks on public transport, there's no check, so it doesn't matter. Nobody does it. It's kind of just how life works. You have to. You set down a regulation, and then you enforce the regulation. If you don't enforce the regulation doesn't exist in all.
And the face mask is a good analogy as well, because what you're doing, that you're not doing that for yourself, you're doing it for others. So when you're telling a county board don't have those lads training, they're thinking, but the others are, so therefore they're making them do it. You know, so I mean, the face mask is a very good analogy for that. And like you said, it has to be policed. And I just catch one county at it, make an example of them, throw them out of it if it needs be. And then people say it's not fair on those players. It's not, but sometimes somebody needs to take the cure here to fix this disease, because it's really, really unfair. I think Michael Duignan really, like I said, me and you can talk about this till kingdom come. Nobody's going to listen to us. They might listen to Michael Duignan, because why wouldn't they? He's Michael Duignan.
Loads of people are listening to us, MT. Don't undersell yourself. A tainted All Ireland we used the word tainted. So I think it's brilliant. Yeah. It is brilliant, because all of a sudden it casts a pall over those teams who are cheating and going against the rules, because it's cheating. If everybody has a set of rules and you step outside the set of rules thinking these aren't for me, that's cheating. And let's see if let's see where that lands, and let's see who's shifting uneasily, or who's feeling guilty, or who's brazenly going, that doesn't apply to me. Let's wait and see now over the next few days, because there is a cat amongst the pigeons, and Michael Duignan is all over the back of the papers after his appearance last night as well. Let me tell everybody about what's coming up here, because it's a very busy programme for us. We need to start getting into it. Shane Hannon is standing by, going to give us the sports news in just a moment. Then we're going to bring you through the sports pages. As I said, Michael Duignan is essentially the lead in many of them. Kevin Walsh is going to join us, the former Galway manager who's set up a new coaching business. We'll talk to him about the art of coaching, and I suspect some of the stuff that Michael Duignan was just talking about, because this story is definitely growing legs over the last 12 hours or so. Colin O'Rourke is going to join us at 8:50, specifically to talk about his Leitrim heritage, because today, Leitrim, the least populous county in the country, is getting the Mount Rushmore treatment, with two of its favourite sons, Sean McGoldrick and Tommy Conlon, doing the needful for us from around about 9:10 this morning. So a very busy GAA programme for you this morning, and the number to get in touch with us is 087 9 180 180. You can use the hashtag OTB AM as well. So Shane Hannon is with us. Shane, good morning to you.
Morning, lads. How are you keeping?
Are you a club GAA player as a matter of interest?
I was. I'm retired at the young age of 26. So I kind of bit disillusioned with the whole commitment levels required. And then I guess when you're up in Dublin as well, you don't feel the need to join a club. You don't feel that local sense of belonging, I guess, that you would to Monaghan Harps, which is my local club. But who knows? I might make a return. I'm after buying a Gaelic football last weekend, so might make a return yet. Haven't got the boots yet, though.
Monaghan is one of the best administered counties in the country. It has a long and storied tradition of producing administrators with vision and with purpose. Like, you think back to Sean McCaig, you think back to the recent Director General, and by all accounts, club football in Monaghan was actually very player focused, and you got loads of games and knew exactly what you were supposed to do. And even in that environment, you found it difficult to stay committed.
Yeah, I know. When you put it like that, it makes me feel a bit guilty.
that wasn't my intention. Sorry.
I mean, and the worst thing about it as well, Sean McCaig was actually my principal in primary school, and Pádraig Duffy was my principal in secondary school for a time as well. So both of them, both a former GAA president and GAA director general, and yet the impact was not as strong. So
see, did you not actually even that balance? Did you not get enough games? Was that the issue, or were you not good enough?
No, I was a decent full forward, Jar. I mean, use the height, 6'4", put it in long, high ball in, no problem. But it kind of just it was a commitment thing, and I was big into the soccer as well with Monaghan Town FC. So the two don't go hand in hand. There's too much training involved there, and we have to go out for these runs and stuff now as well. So that's taken away from it. You could say it adds to it, and maybe this duathlon training we're doing could put me in prime position to go back to the GAA, but it remains to be seen.
Okay, Shane, I know we're short in time here, so what have you got for us?
Yeah, we'll kick off with the Premier League this morning, Ger, because Burnley boss Sean Dyche is hopeful his side can maintain their push to qualify for Europe next season. They did themselves no worries last night anyway with the win. They're 8th in the Premier League table this morning following that 1-0 victory at Crystal Palace. Ben Mee marked his 300th appearance for Burnley with the winner in that game. Despite missing a number of key players with injuries, Dyche did say his team will keep pushing to secure a Europa League spot.
That's 13 clean sheets and 13 wins. Now, that sounds pretty good to me. If you get both ends of the pitch right, you're going to probably have a decent season. It's probably just one of them things that's awkward now because of the players' situation. If we had the players with us, I think we could go even stronger until the end of the season.
While Manchester United continued their push for a top 4 finish, they take on Brighton on the south coast tonight. United are currently 5 points adrift of the Champions League spots, while Brighton sit 6 points clear of the relegation zone. Kick-off at the Amex Stadium, and that one is at 8:15 p.m. this evening. Some commentators are being accused of evident bias when describing darker-skinned footballers. A Danish study has found they're more likely to praise a player's intelligence if they have lighter skin and criticise those with darker skin tones. And meanwhile, those with darker skin tones were significantly more likely to be reduced to their physical characteristics or athletic ability, such as their pace and power. Researchers looked and over 2,000 statements made by English-speaking broadcasters during matches in England, Italy, Spain and France for that research. So that's a very significant and interesting and important research out this morning. As we've been mentioning already this morning, Michael Dignan says the GAA need to have a stronger stance against inter-county teams who train before they're supposed to. Inter-county sides are not supposed to be in training until September 14th, ahead of the later championship start. And Offaly County Chairman Dignan has said sanctions should include teams being thrown out of the championship. You can read Michael Dignan's full comments and watch the whole interview on otbsports.com or the new OTB Sports app, available to download for free right now in the App Store and Play Store. A big boost for Roscommon manager Anthony Cunningham confirming that the Murta brothers are back in his panel. Kieran and Diarmuid opting out at the start of the year. However, Cunningham says the Murtas have had a change of heart and could be available for October's league games. They are against Armagh and Cavan. Holders Dublin, meanwhile, will find out their group opponents in the draw for the TG Carr All-Ireland Ladies Football Championships later. Mick Bohan's side seeded for that draw, along with Galway, Cork and Mayo. Senior Championship this year will be comprised of 4 groups of 3, so that draw should be quite interesting indeed. And finally this morning, Derby County defender Andre Wisdom is in hospital after being assaulted and robbed. The Championship club say the attack was unprovoked and that he is in a stable condition. Thankfully, Merseyside police are investigating.
All right, Shane, we'll let you go. Thanks very much for that. That's Shane Hannon with us there this morning, giving us all of the updates across the world of sport. If you have anything you want to get off your chest, hashtag OTB AM on Twitter, or you can leave a comment on YouTube, or if you just want to WhatsApp us, the easiest thing to do is stick us in your phone as OTB, and you can WhatsApp us on 087 9 180 180. We'd love to hear from you. It is time for the sports pages.
OTB AM.
And OTBsports.com, the main story this morning. First story, Roy Keane is reportedly in talks with Azerbaijan over managerial role. So it'll be very interesting to see if this comes to pass. And, you know, it's certainly, it would be a new and unexpected chapter in the management career of, because I presume he can do the Sky gig for the Premier League and then still fly off to Azerbaijan randomly and manage the international team there. The GAA needs to grow up and grow a pair of balls. That's Michael Duignan speaking, as you've heard this morning, if you joined us at 7:30, or indeed if you listened to it last night. If you missed it, the best thing to do now is to get straight onto the OTB Sports app and go over to the podcast section there, and you'll get it there. And then Liverpool fans will tell you Klopp is one of them, says Pat Nevin on Red Success. So we also have coming up for you today Leitrim's Mount Rushmore and Kevin Walsh talking coaching on this show in just a couple of minutes' time. What's next, Maura Tracy?
Looking here, some of the papers, the Ryder Cup, which is obviously we all knew it was going to be off, but it hasn't been said officially yet. But apparently Nick Faldo decided to slip this accidentally in a TV interview. That's in the back of the Irish Mail, the Ryder Cut, and obviously it talks about GAA's return as well, and the Ryder Cup there again. I love that story about Roy Keane, and Cops parties over, back to work, according to the Mirror. I can't splash the cash. Klopp rules out big spending, but champs will still be great, apparently. And also the Star of the same story, they're saying we won't pay cop dollar. I love these puns, they're brilliant. And then also speaking about Premier League, on the back of the Times today, they're saying United need a new striker, says Solskjaer, and I don't think there's many people who will disagree with that one. Actually, that study that you mentioned there, that Shane mentioned, the report reveals racial bias in football commentary. That's on the back as well of The Guardian. And that's been proven as well in women. I remember actually when I was in UL a few years ago, we did a very similar study with the commentary on the Australian Open finals for men and women, and the same thing came through. Men were praised for their intelligence. Women, anytime they were praised, they were rarely praised, and when they were, it was through their brute force, usually to do with women who were black. And when women lost control, they were emotional. When men lost control, they were showing their passion. I don't know what that tells you.
So this was the Australian Open specifically, was it? And
yeah, we just took that.
And which broadcasters, as a matter of interest? What from all around the world, or just specifically the local one? I'm nearly 100%
sure, if I remember correctly, it was the Eurosport commentary.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
it's really interesting because this bias is actually everywhere in life, and it's not just in commentary. I don't want to get some university did a study of refereeing in the NBA, and they found that black players were more likely to be penalised, even by black referees. And until eventually this was published, there was a massive outcry, and then actually everybody realised that this was true. And as soon as people became aware of it, they changed their behaviours and they redid the survey, and it turned out that the referees had learned that their unconscious bias was something that they could train and go, am I actually going to, should I be blowing the whistle? Is that a foul? Is he fouling out? And it fixed itself. So when you diagnose these things and you talk about them and you shine light on them, people go, oh, okay, well, I can change that behaviour because it's learned behaviour. I'm going to run through some of the headlines.
Absolutely is.
Going to run through some of the headlines in the rest of the papers here as well. So the Irish Examiner this morning, Kennedy county sides will have enough time to prepare. This is Tracy Kennedy, Cork County Board Chairperson. Power flabbergasted by GAA's stance on inter-county training. This is David Power, Tipperary Senior Football Manager. He says he's flabbergasted by the GAA stance on county teams training before September 14th. Please let us know if counties are training, but there's going to be no punishment. That was an incredible statement for me to be hearing. I think there needs to be clarity because insurance is an issue. New Irish app will deliver digital ticketing for club matches. So this is a new app to help clubs get through digital ticketing. And they're also talking there. There's a series of pictures. It's the 8 All-Ireland medals that Paulie O'Shea is pictured with for that one as well. That is the Examiner for you there. The Star this morning, their back page headline is, We won't pay cop dollar, and then also a jack of all trades. Dublin should turn to James McCarthy to fill the void left by Jack McCarthy at wing back, according to Paul Curran. And then obviously Michael Dignan and GAA need to grow some balls is the headline on the story that we've been talking about this morning. I have the Irish Times, the Star, the Mirror for you. Did I just do the Mirror? No, I didn't just do the Mirror. Here's the Mirror here for you. Picture of Jurgen Klopp. I can't splash cash. That's saying there's not going to be any significant training or any significant buys. Then it's Black Power. Hamilton's new look Mercedes is in tune with the times. Lewis Hamilton and his Mercedes as the Formula One team do their bit in the battle against racism. So after the Mirror, we're going to go to the Sun. And the Sun is Roy Keane on their back page. As Roy got a new job, Roy Keane is in talks with Azerbaijan about becoming their new boss. And then also Skip Ben, Coles Eagles, Clarets make Mealine for Euro places. I actually don't know what any of that stuff means until you kind of go, oh, Palace 0, Burnley 1. That's what it is. Palace 0, Burnley 1. Skip Ben, Coles Eagles, Clarets make Mealine for Euro places. Does anybody speak like that? Does anybody
No, nobody does. And maybe I'm the minority here, but now that Liverpool have won the league, I'm just like, I don't care anymore. Just finish it off.
Blow it up, ref.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says he needs a new striker. So after that, we have the Racing Post and obviously the Derby declarations. The Racing Post is basically just saying how amazing the weekend is going to be in terms of racing, because star-studded entries unveiled for Derby and Oaks on Saturday. Enable, Guyat and Japan set for epic eclipse on Sunday. Owners to share in excitement as ban from tracks is lifted. So they're obviously very happy, and they're very happy to be back. Printed as well. And United are starting to look the real deal is the story there. The Telegraph, if we can stick that up, if we have it. I'm not sure I do. I don't. I'm sure it's a cricket story.
It probably is.
I'm going to put my head in the block and say they have a cricket story for us this morning. The Herald are leading with Paul Curran saying that Dublin will find a way to deal with the absence of Jack McCaffrey. I'm not sure they will. We can talk about that in just a moment. The Irish News, if we have the Irish News for you there.
Don't know about the Irish News, but the back of the Echo has a nice piece today, I think. The Leaside legend for the day is Cove-born boxer, the gorgeous Gael, Jack Doyle, heavyweight boxer Jack, larger than life. And when you look, there's a beautiful black and white photo there, and he was a gorgeous Gael back in the day. And I think that's really, if you're into going down memory lane, that's a nice one to go on.
That's the Echo, yeah. And then we can stick up the PDF there of the Irish News. Bonner, we'll do all we can to face red hands in Ballybuffet. I see no reason that it should be anywhere else. So it'll be interesting to see exactly if they do move that game to Croke Park. But Declan Bonner, fairness to him, has never shied away from having an old tilt at the powers that be. And sometimes it seems to have worked for him. Certainly it's worked as a rallying cry to get people behind that Donegal team. So if they want to play the game in Ballybuffet and it's safe to do so, I suppose that's going to be the big issue, isn't it, about health and safety. So I'm going to show you what's on the OTB Sports app for you this morning as well. So obviously your home feed, you get to pick that yourself when you select, and you can click on the little human icon in the top right hand corner and change that, and you can scroll down and then see all of the stories that we've provided for you. At the bottom you can click on radio, and one click you get our live 24-hour radio station. Our video is every piece of video that we do, and then our podcast network is festooned with podcasts. This is actually the best place to listen to the podcast, because you can subscribe to the individual feeds and then you can get a notification whenever we update them, which we do lots and lots of on the OTB Sports Podcast Network. So loads more to come. I did want to talk to you a little bit about what Dublin are going to be like without Jack McCaffrey. Conor McKeown last night saying that he's been one of the most influential players in the team over the last decade, and it's true. Like, digs them out of holes when they need a hole to be dug out of, makes the other team think about him in a way that they probably have to think about a few other Dublin players, but like everybody else kind of has a job. You mark Con, you mark here in Kilkenny, but you can put somebody on the speed of Jack McCaffrey, but you might also have to have somebody else detailed to make sure that they're picking him up when he actually wins the race that he's going to win almost 9 times out of 10. So I don't know if it's going to be straightforward for them.
No, it certainly isn't going to be straightforward to them. But at the same time and in the same tone, nobody is irreplaceable, as everyone from politicians down to Junior C football knows. I remember actually, I think it was Ronan O'Gara saying before that, they won when he was at Munster and when Paul O'Connor was out injured. They still managed to go on a pretty good run. despite the fact that they were without Paul O'Connell. So that comes down to good coaching and good management and knowing who your players are. And also, Dublin played a certain style, and Jack McCaffrey, perhaps a lot of it was to do to fit around Jack McCaffrey's style of play. So the smart manager and coach would go, okay, who are we going to have to evolve now? And the worst thing Dublin could try and do is to keep playing that way, because obviously they don't have that person anymore. And I don't think they'd be that silly to attempt to keep doing a Jack McCaffrey when Jack's not there. Will it be easy? No. Is Jack McCaffrey unique? Yes. Will they go on without him? Yes. Will they be better? Who knows? That's the big question, really.
The counter argument, of course, is that Ronan O'Gara has proven to be irreplaceable for Munster, and they haven't been great at getting somebody to fulfil the role of the number 10 from Munster's perspective ever since he's gone. So that was the story with that one, and I suppose there was other bits and pieces in the papers this morning that we might come back to a little bit later on as well. So, there was one I just wanted to do very briefly here. In the back page of the London Times is the Leicester Tigers contract situation, and this is very interesting because it kind of speaks to just how chaotic things are in World Rugby at the moment. Manu Tuilagi, George Ford and Ellis Genge are among the Leicester Tigers contract rebels who face being released by the club unless they agree new deals by tonight. So this is absolutely brinkmanship from both sides, really. They've so far declined to sign revised terms as part of the club's bid to reduce their wage bill in what appears to be a game of brinkmanship with Leicester. So obviously the salary cap has gone down from 6.4 million to 5 million. You've got to re-sign your players, renegotiate deals with them on much reduced contracts, obviously. And you bear in mind that I think it might have been Gavin Comiskey making the point that the reason that the IRFU and the Players Union here are so far apart is that for many of these players, they're never going to earn this type of money again after they stop playing rugby. Some of them will go on to have very successful business careers and whatever afterwards. But for a lot of them, this is their at-bat where they actually get the opportunity to make some proper serious cash and set themselves up for life or for retraining or for whatever it is they want to do. And now, over the next 2.5 or 3 years, they could be losing anything between 200 to 400 grand. That's a lot of money when you take it out of your entire lifetime earnings.
Absolutely. That's your house bought, and without that, you have to go and find it somewhere else. And especially, I suppose, if I was in the shoes of a rugby player, I'm thinking I'm literally putting my body and at times my mind on the line here to play professionally for you. I see the amount of money you guys are raking in different ways between TV deals and this, that and the other in World Rugby. Give me what's mine, because without me, you ain't got a product. I'm sure that's what they're saying. And when you compare it, you might say that's a lot of money until you compare it to Premier League, which is obviously apples and oranges. And you'd be thinking, God, why didn't I start playing soccer as a child instead of rugby? But this is the thing. People sometimes look at the money rugby players make, or even TV presenters, to use the old Irish parlance. But the thing is, these people, they could be dropped tomorrow. They could be injured tomorrow. And then what? Unless you have that money in place and a plan in place, you're kind of up a creek without a paddle there. Because what have we got? A handful of former rugby players who make it as analysts, and and then a smaller handful again who make it earning a lot of good money. It's precarious. And
much smaller still, who end up in coaching, and until you actually get to the top of the coaching tree, you're not earning great money. And even then, in Irish terms, you're kind of being done a little bit of a favour of having the gig in the first place. And sure, it absolutely, it's a very difficult situation they find themselves in. If the game is going to survive, they're probably going to have to take some sort of a cut. And I'm sure they're looking at the IRFU and the bank of cash that they've built up over the years and the assets that they have, and they're saying, I mean, what's fair here is that maybe you guys have to just you guys take a bit of the pinch, and we're going to be. You keep talking about the importance of the senior international team in generating revenue for everybody. Well, that's us, and so you're going to have to protect us to make sure that we're capable of continuing to generate that revenue for you. So. If you want to get in touch with us this morning, 087 918. I don't know if there's that much sympathy for anybody.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know if there's that much sympathy for any of the sports organisations, really, for the FAI, for the difficulties that they have found themselves in and steered themselves into, and for the IRFU when they're up against the players. From the FAI's perspective, it's essentially it's hitting a reset button, and that was the other aspect of the whole kind of sports administrator thing. When Michael Duignan comes on, you understand that he's doing it because he doesn't want to actually be there. Like the best part about Michael Duignan is that he doesn't want to be the county board chairman. He felt like he had to do it. For a lot of people in other sports administration roles, and you think, like, who are the people who want to be in charge of the new FAI, or the FAI as it is now? Who are the people who want to bubble up and be on those IRFU committees, and who actually wants to go to Congress to volunteer to sit in that room and be one of those grey men who vote on rule changes. Like, it's not a very exciting or appealing job for people who would actually be good at it, is it?
No, and it's quite thankless as well. I mean, I know in fairness, all we've done this morning is rip them apart, but I mean, there's a lot of people who've given their lives and souls, like you said, to this, the Michael Dignans of the world, who are doing it for the good of the sport, and they love it and they bleed it, and it's their lives morning, noon and night, and it sucks nearly the good out of them. And you'd be thinking, in some sense, it doesn't matter how much you pay these people, you're never going to pay them enough to do these kind of jobs, or even how many expenses they make or whatever. It's just it's a hard thing, because it's a bit like politics. I think you're never going to please everyone, and especially when you use big organisations like the FAI, the IRFU, the GAA, because it's got so many prongs. You've got people from under sixes up to elite level athletes, and trying to please all those people, it's hard. You're trying to round squares all the time. And often, like you said, for some people, then it's a little bit of power, and it's a bit like the coach who couldn't make it coaching the senior football team, and he's down coaching the minors now, or the under 14s, and he's beasting them into trying to make them into the elite player that he never was, or the elite team he was never allowed to coach. And sometimes I do wonder, sometimes see some administrators, we've all come across them, those who can do and those who can't, admin.
8:33 this morning here. I want to tell you about this. This Friday at 12 o'clock, we're giving you another chance to win €1,000 in our new game show. It's called Know Your Football. The prize fund has been reset after we had a prize fund of £2,000 last week, and that was split 4 ways after all 4 contestants got 15 questions correct. It's really simple. It's 15 questions about football, and if you get all 15 right, you end up sharing in the prize pool. The first week, we had nobody get it right. Last week, that's why the prize rolled over from £1,000 to £2,000. 4 people ended up making it the whole way through. Very exciting. Live at 12 noon on Friday. Log on to quiz.otbsports.com. Make sure you do it with about 10 minutes time to spare, because you just need to get registered. So at around about 10 to 12, the quiz will start at 12 o'clock. Know Your Football is brought to you in association with Paddy Power. Check out paddypower.com for their great offers, and always gamble responsibly. So it's £1,000 in cold hard cash to give away, and it's all testing your football knowledge. Know Your Football. Quiz.otbsports.com. Now,